What's up, guys? This is Krystle Chats, and this is episode 2 of the Healthy Gossip podcast. I am here at the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast Studio, hanging out once again with Alex Kahn.
What's up?
What's up? We are going to do this. It's going to be juicy. We are going to follow up a little bit about from what happened in episode 1, a little celebrity gossip. We're going to get right in our minds, and let's get into it. So, last week, if you listened, I talked about a 3-hour man. And I will say that's already over. So I just to give you an idea, basically, I've been on the dating apps, and this was a gentleman that I was vibing really nicely with on the phone. And I did hang out with him in person. And you know, that's the thing about energy is it's just like,
it's important.
It was exhausting. And I basically wanted this episode to be about, like, the theme is if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And I'm too old to be exhausted. So also I wanted to mention that I didn't really push episode 1 much, and I will say there's this gentleman who I kind of like went on a date with, and I think these egos, man, I think he thought I was really going to like put all of our business out there, and he's like, ooh, I want to hear the episode, and I don't even really think I mentioned him at all. And yeah, and again, it's just I think I've unfortunately, sorry boys, made the decision that like dating in LA is just exponentially easier and better for me. I plan on living here. This is going to be my home, and it's so crazy because I listened back to the episode and I mentioned that I loved that the guy who I thought would have been a really cool guy to date, had a routine, and he seemed like no, it was almost like we were kind of raging almost, and I don't want that. I'm a comedian. I'm out a lot, so when I have a personal life, I kind of want it to be like a warm comfort zone, pun intended for the gentleman, you feel me? So yeah, I feel bad because I feel like he was kind of like trying to fight for it and be like, hey, like, let me take you on a normal date, you know, let's do it on the day you're off. But when I'm in Orange County, I'm only working, so I'm not really trying to, and it's usually on the weekends. So for a 9-to-5 person, that's the opposite schedule. So that's that. And then, and the other one, I just wanted to apologize for not mentioning you in episode 1. And this is basically the answer. It's just like, because it's not a hell yes, you know, but these people are great people. And
it's like a role. You're not wrong for the role. You're just not right for the role. Sorry.
There you go. Yeah. Great people.
There's only one role.
Exactly. And, so I wanted to mention that I feel like one of the things that you see a lot, especially for people who have a substantial following, is they always talk about privacy, like, and how important privacy is to them. It's like, oh, like, I keep my love life private. I don't want to keep my love life private, because especially if it's eventually someone who I plan on marrying, I'm not saying I need to tell you guys like details about our like intimacy or anything like that. But I definitely want to mention the person that I'm dating. I don't want it to have to be a secret. And that's just my style, and to each their own. I feel like a lot of people do that to protect themselves. Like, maybe it's because they think if I ever get cheated on, you know, if there's any sort of scandal, you know, they don't want it out in the open. And I get it, but at the same time, it's like my ego is just not that crazy where I'm like, you know, if I get cheated on, like, so be it. Like, it happened. You know, obviously I'll be a little devastated, but it is what it is. And I also wanted to recap on how I'm feeling about that comedian. I heard myself say in the last episode that that's what triggered me to get on dating apps. And, you know, I will say that I'm probably going to eventually get off of these apps, because I've realized I'm kind of in a transitional period where I still work in Orange County, and then I'm moving back here, but it's still I'm spread too thin. So, but I did go on a date last night with a guy who was super sweet. He is British, and we had really great chemistry. We did not hook up, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. So we'll see where that goes. So basically, I guess it's called multi-dating. You know, there's another person who I'm probably going to hang out with this evening, haven't hooked up with, don't want to like do that because that's just like dirty, you know. Let's just not keep hooking up with multiple people. But again, you're right. There's many people that could potentially be right for the role, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the one.
It's good to have good options, but you know.
Yeah, and there's no need to rush. I'm at this point now too where it's like I don't want to rush anymore. I feel like that's what happened with the 3-hour person. It's like no rushing. I don't need to rush. And I do want to mention we talked about this in an episode on the Comedy Pop-Up podcast about. I think it's interesting that there's been a couple of men who have said that. I want to use the words verbatim. This guy said, I'm punching above my weight class, which was really, it's a nice compliment, you know? And, but for me, I think a lot of us comedians are insecure. I always say I'm painfully insecure, but then confident at the same time. So that's just life. And then we were also mentioned how a bunch of like comics will hit on me, like these 22-year-old boys who are just like, I want to go get a drink. And I think it's interesting, you know, just points of view from people are interesting.
I was going to say something about the first one, but I want to let you get to the second one. What was the first one? He's punching out of his weight class. Is that what he said? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's a compliment, but if he believes that, then he's probably right. So
interesting. Wow, that's interesting.
So, my mom taught me when I was younger, if someone tells you you're too good for them, you probably are. Like, they know themselves better than you do. So just it's either indicative of the truth or of how they view themselves. And either way, it's, yeah.
But what if we both feel like that about each other?
Well, then you got to get right with your weight class first before you go looking for an opponent. You got to start training before you find a fight.
The comedian guy said that too. I remember he asked, like, he goes, do you like me just for my talent? And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like,
what talent?
No, he's definitely talented, but I'm just, in my mind, I'm like, he's so sexy. I was going to say on that like the cool thing about him is that, you know, moving forward, whenever we see each other at shows or whatever, we'll always be able to make eye contact and be like, hey man, this could have been a sexy thing we had going. And now it'll just always be like a what if, could
have been love, you know?
You know, whatever, man. Jeez. So yeah, that's me. Like I've decided now. I feel like I'm at peace with all that drama I was talking about last week with my ex calling me at 3 a.m. and the comic guy basically shutting me down. The 3-hour guy ended up being exhausting, which is made it a pun, right? Right. And so that's cool. And now I'm in a great place, and I hope you guys are in a great place as well. Remember, the point of this podcast is to talk about it. Get it out there. Find somebody who you want to talk about your frustrations to and just get it out there. Yeah, that's was on my agenda to talk about that because the comedian part, because I just, you know, rejection. You get rejection on the field and off the field. So one thing, when Alex comes back, I wanted to talk to him about.
So we can cut this out. I'm just.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to stop for a second? Okay. So I already talked about privacy, and I'd love to get you guys' feedback on privacy eventually, and the pros and cons, and why you guys feel like it's important and not important. Because again, for me, it's like I also thought it was interesting. I have a friend on Instagram, and he never erases pictures. So what's your point of view on that, Alex? Like not erasing pictures of
You mean
ex?
like after a relationship?
Yeah. Do you leave them all on there?
I'll leave some of them on there. I mean, like I'm not going to pretend like the person wasn't a part of my life, you know, but also, I think it's indicative of where someone's at too. You know, like if you know someone's out of a relationship, but all the pictures are still up, you know, like maybe this is me, maybe this is just the dude in me, but when I go look at a girl's page, if I'm like, if I knew she had a boyfriend and all of a sudden there's no boyfriend pictures, she's either over it mentally, or you know, like it's indicative of being in a different place, I think, you know, and kind of being somewhere else. So
for me, it's like respect to the next person that you're dating, because like I honestly don't want to see it, you know. Like
yeah, that's a big part of it too.
Because that happened with one of the last guys I dated. I just don't, and he had really corny like hashtags on there about like being in love and stuff. And it's like, if I'm getting on your page, I don't want to look at that. And then plus, if you're posting me, like that's kind of weird. And this guy literally had like 3 different girlfriends. And I get some people just don't really care that much about social media. Like they won't. I've seen people on Instagram who haven't posted in years, you know, and I get it. Like not everyone. Some people are Facebook people, whatever. Like just it's not, but for me, because I am so active on Instagram, it mattered to me. So that's something that I'm interested in you guys' feedback on that as well, because yeah, like I think him and I both agree, Alex and I both agree that it's just not something that I want to see.
I think it's yeah, I don't know. It depends on how, I guess, like I wouldn't hold it against someone if they kept them, I guess. Like I feel like, especially if you're just entering into a relationship, if you're like, hey, all those, you know. But it's also, some people take social media a little more seriously. Some people just are like, it's just it's a record of what has happened, and it's, you know. I think it honestly has a little more to do with how they feel about it too. Like if they're not making a big deal out of it, but you are, that's a little weird. But if you're not making a big deal out of it and they're like, hey, did you see pictures of my ex? You know, then that's weird too. So, and
it's also different if you had an ex from like a year ago that, you know, and then literally you would have to scroll down.
There have been a lot of posts.
Right. You know, which I was guilty. I did that. Even though it was like way old, I still didn't like it because I'm a psychopath. But you know, some people just, it's not a big deal to them. And I've seen this with multiple people where they just leave the pictures up. I'm just like, I can't. Even a woman, a girl I used to work with, she had that. And I'm like, I can't. Like I have pictures in my phone, obviously, that I haven't deleted, but that's because they don't go through my phone. So what I wanted to talk,
you want to have some of those around still, right? Like pictures in your phone, and there are pictures of, I have pictures of exes in my phone that like, just was like from like we were camping in a cool place. There's a lot of cool pictures. It's a cool picture. I'm not gonna, is that weird? I don't know.
No, not at all. It was crazy because when I was moving, this guy I was dating made a book. It was really sweet. He made a book of pictures of us, and
a scrapbook.
And he actually printed it off of online. It had he had
like a service or like like a place make it,
and it was beautiful. And he put really like nice words and little phrases, and that's how he asked me to be his girlfriend. And that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Is what do you, with times changing, do you feel like, how important is that to you to just like have the conversation? Does the conversation have to be had like, well, hey, is it a question, will you be my partner, my boyfriend, my girlfriend?
I assume that everyone is hedging their bets. I assume that everyone is playing the field a little bit, you know, until if we're together, we know we're together. At some point, I'll have a conversation just about exclusivity. Just like, hey, are we on the same page here? Like, are you, if you are, cool. If you're not, cool. I just want to know, and
Okay.
because I'm the kind of person, and I'll tell people too, like, there isn't someone else, but I'm not saying there won't be. Like, we're not there. Like, I'm not, like, I think there's a huge difference in dating and, and being in a
Right.
relationship with someone. And I don't think, like, people always like, oh, he's dating all these girls. Well, yeah, he should be. He should be
Right.
until, if he's living with a girl and dating a bunch of other girls, then that's a little different. And I think that about girls too, where I'm like, yeah, see what's out there. And
Yeah.
I'm always, you mentioned this, if it's not hell yes, it's no. Mm-hmm. If you're texting other people, then it's not hell yes either. So, not yet anyway. It could get there, but.
Yeah. I feel like that is something that it makes people not be as romantic anymore, in my opinion, because they know, oh, she's dating a lot of other people. Why am I even trying? Or I'll just wait my turn in the week, for my date night, whatever. Because I feel like that's what still kind of makes like that hell yes feeling, is like spontaneity. Like, hey, let's go, take a road trip together. Let's, go. Let's just, I just wanted, like, saying sweet things even. Unfortunately, with one of the people that I dated, I think he thought, because we had a really great, like, 2 dates together on his end. But then again, I was checking out of it, and I feel like that he could.
Yeah.
He didn't like that. He wanted to fight for it. And I was just like, but yeah.
Some battles just aren't worth the casualties,
Yeah, exactly.
It's I don't know. It's LA is it's different too. So you mentioned you think like you compared to Orange County guys because of the commute and your lifestyle now you'd rather date in LA. But you said, well, dating in LA is just easier. And I was like, oh, that's funny because I've never heard anyone ever say that the LA route's the easier one.
Well, for me right now, definitely, because just I when I'm here, these are my days off. I mean, I like to consider this work, but it's not my 9 to 5
off of your
work. Yeah, like I can just chill here. I have a home. I leave when I go work there, I have my dogs with me, and I can't really leave my dogs at the house that I'm at because I'm not paying rent there. I'm just kind of like staying there.
You take your dogs to work?
I have to because I sleep.
How many dogs?
I sleep there too.
Okay.
So
you sleep at work?
Yeah, we work out of a house. Yeah, we do. And
those are the best dispensaries, are the ones built into houses.
Well,
it's so Denver.
Remember,
I miss that.
I don't work at the warehouse. I'm the call center.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, you guys aren't do you guys do retail too?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just
cool.
Online. Yep. And
online. Is it like delivered to locals type thing? Like it's all delivery
only Orange
service?
County. Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's
cool. So that's why I don't know. I just really. I think there was something that turns me off too about like having to move back to Orange County for a relationship because I didn't have a good experience there romantically with my ex. So and I feel like most of the experiences that I've had in LA have been actually pretty positive, But we'll see. We'll see. I'm really happy with the space that I just so happened to fall into in the past day and a half or so.
Head space or physical space? What do you?
No, physically, I'm actually a little hungover right now. And tired,
I mean, like, are you talking about like where you're living and things like that, or you mean like your person, like you've fallen into a space where
both, like
spiritually, you're in a space?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I shout out to that guy from last night because I feel like him and I could connect on that level where I had mentioned that I like people who kind of. For me, it's almost like a religion, whenever it comes to like meditation and spirituality and crystals and still like, worshiping some sort of a God, whatever God is in your life. I mean, that is important to me. And him and I vibed on that level. Another person I'm dating is a writer. And I feel like that I like it too when they're not just ultra aggressive right now, which I feel like is something that I kind of did have in the past. And it's like, no, someone who's just like kind of like letting you breathe and figure it out is something that I think is very nice, and we'll see what happens. And I like that it's clean. Like there's, we're not hooking up yet or anything like that. And it's still a nice chemistry, like physically, like when we hug each other, it's nice and it's easy. I think a lot of people like forget how nice it is to just be around someone and just relax, and just chill. It's like, oh, it's so nice. And that's exactly what I've been, because like when I'm not with a person, I'm 100 miles an hour. Like I got to go here, I got to go here, I got to do this, I got to check on this, I got to pay this bill, I got to run this errand, I got to go do this mic, this show, blah, blah, blah. So finally, like if I can ever be in another romantic thing again, I want it to be peaceful. And speaking of peaceful, let's get into the little celebrity gossip bit. Well, the one thing I wanted to mention this time, do you follow the Kardashians at all, Alex?
I don't. So I'm on there's a podcast I'm on where we talk about the family pretty frequently, but I don't personally follow. What's your what am I missing? What's the good stuff?
Well, the reason why I asked is because I feel like they're so famous where like even if you don't follow them, you kind of know who the characters are.
Yeah, I know who they all are, yeah.
So, and do you know about the Blac Chyna and Rob Kardashian thing?
Is he with her after Kanye or before Kanye?
Huh?
Like, wasn't Kanye with that shit? Wasn't Blac Chyna like a Kanye thing too?
No, that was Amber Rose.
No, Amber Rose, yeah.
No,
I don't.
okay.
So I'm not familiar with the Blac Chyna thing.
Which is good. I'll recap. So basically, Blac Chyna has...
Is she a part of their story now? Blac Chyna? Is she that in?
I'll explain it.
Okay.
Here we go. Blac Chyna was a stripper turned video vixen who her baby daddy is Tyga.
Oh.
And then Tyga essentially left Blac Chyna to date Kylie. Okay. And so Kylie and Tyga were dating for quite some time. And then Blac Chyna went and started dating Rob Kardashian. Okay. And so that's already like kind of sick and twisted. And in my opinion, this is my podcast, I'm going to say how I feel. And then Wendy Williams, so she had a baby by Rob. She got pregnant.
Okay.
Wendy Williams went and asked her on her show, did you date Rob to get back at Kylie and Tyga? Just straight up. And I was like, savage, because that's the question
that's what everyone wants to know.
Well, that's what we all make our assumption. Like for me, for sure. Like my conspiracy is that they're just brilliant business people, and they know that drama sells, and they're gonna do whatever makes the money.
I think for a lot of people, that's what relationships are. If you're in that if you have that kind of a light on you, it's a business, agreement.
Right.
Yeah. And I honestly think Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton is a business agreement too.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of marriages, most marriages are just because two people can't pay the rent without each other, and one of them has health care. So yeah, I agree with that. Sorry. But
yeah, and I think that
so Wendy asked her, and what'd she say?
No, she said that she actually cared about him, and props to her if she's lying, because her response did feel honest and sincere. So props to her. But I don't have a kid, and I know once you have a baby by somebody, regardless, your feelings change about that person, whether or not you hate them or love them more. And I'm convinced that Kris is God to that family. And if she would have told Rob, you better not date that girl, she wouldn't have, because I'm pretty sure Kris writes his checks, but I think it made great TV, and they did what they had to do, but I'll never really 100% be convinced that she was into him just to be into him.
When did this happen? Was this a recent thing?
I think the baby's already at least one. So it was a couple years ago, and there was a lot of drama. Like she ran away and took the baby, and that's why I'll never believe her. Because if you're really physically attracted to somebody and you guys have a baby together, like it doesn't. To me, it's not hot and cold like that.
Yeah,
and because she left him, and then she immediately ran off to go be with other people that looked exactly like her first baby daddy, Tyga.
Whoa. What do you say?
I'm saying
She likes guys with tattoos. Okay.
Some people have types, you know? And yeah, so that's my whole thought about that. I just wanted to give props to Wendy because she asked it straight up. And I have to give props to Black China too, because she actually handled herself very well. And yeah, to me, it's healthy. Like, talk about it. Talk about it. All right, we asked the boyfriend girlfriend question. So, do you think there's an obsession with people? Obsession's the wrong word. Like, do you think people give up too easy in this generation?
On love?
Yep, love.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think it's definitely quicker than it used to be, but I wouldn't call it giving up either.
Okay.
I think people our age are a lot more empowered to find a situation that makes us happier, not just the situation that might be right. You know, so like most people's situation, like, sure, there are a lot of people out there who are like, I want you to date a Jewish girl, son. And then there are a lot of people out there who are like, just whatever makes you happy. And if it takes you 10 years to figure it out, I don't care. Just like, you know, so I feel like parents nowadays, there's not as much of a rush. Whereas, you know, when my mom was younger, it's like, you know, you got a kid on the way and you're not married. What is you know, my mom got married young, because they wanted to kind of, for a legal kind of situation, housing type stuff.
Right.
So like before she was 18, she was technically emancipated to get married. And that was like a societal thing. So I feel like we don't stick around. We're not in it for the long haul quite like we used to be, but I think that's because I don't feel societally we put as much pressure on monogamy, so there's not. I feel like people I feel like people feel freer than they used to. So I feel like back in the day, if there would have been a destigmatization like there is kind of now, or an openness and an open sexuality, I feel like they would have, you know, people I feel like would have run away as quick as we do now. They just were kind of told not to a little more. So.
I like that.
I feel like what we do is natural, but we definitely do it more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. And good. I'm glad you feel that way, because I felt bad kind of just bailing on one of the recent situations that I was in, because initially I thought, wow, you know, but then as soon as the true colors show themselves about someone, I checked out. I check out easy. And I'm glad I got his point of view, because I was thinking like maybe I'm just quitting. But I have this theory that, I mean, for at least the first week or a month, that it just needs to be cool.
Easy.
Yeah, I mentioned that about another person that I dated, where the first like couple of days it was like text, hey, like, how are you? And then I think the following day, like, it was just kind of like dry, and that's cool, but that's not what I'm looking for. Also, like, consistency with the person last night.
Why consistency? Why would you ever want consistency?
The fellow from last night, who was very charming, that moved so incredibly slow for the right reasons. Like, this was a person who we did not exchange numbers until after our first coffee date. So we were only communicating through Bumble, which respect. I like that, because honestly, I feel like more people should do that. Like, hey, let's just go grab a coffee to make sure I even like the sound of your voice, or in person, like, you don't smell bad.
It's a good middle step for people who date on apps. Like, let's have a... Yeah.
Just a coffee. Don't exchange numbers. That way, it's an easy way to not waste someone's time. So when you leave the coffee date, if you don't like that person, unmatch them and move on with your life.
Just message them and be like, hey, man, just didn't feel it. Thanks. Good luck. We could be adults. You don't have to.
Decency. Yeah. Thanks for the coffee. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, it was cool. You know.
And then that guy, like, he messaged me and said, hey, you know, I had a great time at coffee. Like, I'd like to take you out for a drink. So that's what we did, which was really cute, because we were out, and
like a month later, he still doesn't have your phone number. You're like, no,
no, but he said that, and then I gave him my number, And he didn't text me for like 2 days. And then I was like, oh, cool. But that's consistent still. Because again, we matched on Bumble, a few slow messages, you know, and then when he did ask me out, when he texted me, he wasn't texting me all day. But it's consistent, you know, don't go from like, what are you eating for lunch and text me goodnight and then nothing. You know what I mean? Or text me once every other day.
Do you notice that, like, do you push conversation a lot?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm a one word person a lot of the times, but that's normally it's because I'm either at work or I'm busy. But I do like phone conversations.
See, that's I agree with that. I like phones a little more. I think texting is detrimental to relationships. Like, what are we going to talk about when we do hang out? If I already know every single aspect of your day,
who has time for that? I mean,
that's not a relationship. That's an obsession. You know? Yeah, but I've been in relationships like that where it's like,
remember,
you didn't
mutual obsession.
Yeah, well, it wasn't very mutual then, was it? No, I've been in relationships like that where it's like the expectation for communication is so high that it's like, I'm just not the guy for you. If you need this kind of attention, like all day, even when I'm at work and when I'm doing if you like, think about your dad. Your dad didn't hit your mom up all day, you know? I mean, well, depending on how old you are, but.
Yeah, we talked about that on episode 1 about the whole Chris Rock thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that his parents are able to miss each other.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of cool in my situation now because if I date somebody, the guy that I'm, one of the people I'm seeing now, he's going to take off to the UK for like a month. And
for like a month or for a month? Is he
hasn't even booked a return trip.
Oh, okay, nice.
So he'll be gone. And I'm cool with that. I'm like, cool.
Lucky him. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
What's he doing out there?
His family is out there, and he's actually still here just like on a visa. So, you know, he'll be working and then come back, and I'm 95% sure I'll still be single. But again, like I'm going to eventually delete the apps because I felt like I was so much more focused, and I just liked my life. I didn't realize how I really appreciate being alone. I'm not saying I don't want to find somebody, but I'm like I said, I'm already dating a couple people. That's enough. Don't need to meet any more. I don't have the capacity to add more. And listening,
you're already accidentally like missing names. How often do you call him like Andrew? I'm sorry, not Andrew. Do you do that ever?
No, but I have been on a coffee date where I was like, I need to go to the bathroom to look on Bumble because I forgot his name.
Nice. I dig that.
Yeah.
I've been on like third dates with people where I had to check to say.
Wow.
I'm like, what is her? Because I'm terrible at saving names in my phone.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what drives people into your memory is like every time they text you, it's like John. And I'm just getting like 310-474 you know, and it's like,
okay.
And so then I'll be like, out and I'll be like, what the fuck is this? That's probably also indicative of not caring. I didn't, you know.
And I have to save people's names with a memory word.
Yeah.
It'll be like so-and-so Los Feliz, so-and-so coffee date, and maybe the name of the place that we had coffee.
You know, you have like a dating app problem when you have like 3 John Coffee dates in your phone.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Which John Coffee date from the Dodgers game? And you're like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you appreciate alone time.
Yeah, and eventually I would like to be here full time. The whole being by county is just killing me. So, and which is, like I said, it's great that this person's going to be gone. I don't have to worry about, you know, missing hanging out with that person because they'll be gone. I feel like the other person that I'm dating has been super understanding too, because like if we miss an opportunity to see each other, it's like, okay, cool, maybe next weekend, and like, and still again, a random occasional text asking me how my day has been, and not it's consistent. I love the consistency, but I've realized that I was listening to the last podcast, and I kind of heard myself saying I just got on the dating apps because it was almost like a rebound thing, and because I kind of got my heart gently broken. It wasn't even broken because like I wasn't even dating that guy, but I I just had this really cool idea in my head. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, we met out in the world. And I've never had the only relationship that I've had where we called each other boyfriend and girlfriend that we met off a dating app didn't last long.
Mm-hmm.
So all my other boyfriends have been, we met out in the world
Out in the
people.
world.
Yeah, we met out in the jungle. You know, it wasn't a virtual.
You got their scent before you knew their name.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's the natural way. You got to get that scent first.
Yeah. So there's that. I wanted to. Okay. Here's a question that this might be a little personal. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but tell me some of your favorite characteristics of the person that you love. And yeah.
You know what? For me, it is. It's typically sense of humor driven. Almost always, it's what can this person laugh at, because then I know how serious they take everything.
Mm-hmm.
For like me as a comedian, I'm a very dark comedian. So like if in daily life I'm making jokes that are horrible for the workplace. That's why I don't have a traditional workplace. I'm a little different, I guess. I need to be with somebody who will yes and my darkness a little, who won't be like, like sometimes I say stuff and my girl like smack me like shh, but also sometimes I say stuff and ideally I want my partner to be like, let's take that a step further. What about this? And you're like, oh, like you're my writing partner now. I like when I'm with someone, it's sense of humor. Yeah.
Okay.
And a cuteness. I like a cuteness. Patrice O'Neill said it about, I don't know if you ever listen to old Patrice O'Neill stuff, but there was some like intern in a studio that looked identical to his like girlfriend, but she was like 30 years younger. And he's like, see, you got that cuteness about you. And I find that like, for me, that's kind of part of it too, is a cuteness. I don't know how to describe it, but just like like personality, that there's a giggle, there's a
quirk.
Yeah, well, there's laughter and they don't seem dead inside, I guess.
Yeah.
You ever be around people and you're like, okay, you're trying to be very like you think you're a stoic, but you're just boring, like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was having a conversation with somebody and I thought it was interesting that he mentioned he was hanging out with this comedian who actually is a successful comedian. It's a girl, and he felt that she sounded like she was doing a bit in normal conversation. And he thought that was weird. And he was like, hey, you don't have to do that.
That's the hard part about hanging out with comics.
Right.
They're almost always like it's a muscle that you're trying to develop to be so natural that once it kind of gets to any level of naturalness, it seems unnatural off of stage. Like everyone wants to be natural on stage until unnatural comes off stage, and then you're like, oh.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. And you do see it. You like with comedians who are just starting, they it's an act.
Yeah.
Which
every conversation, like funny thing, you're like, be a human being. My mother's dying. Don't we don't need a joke right now.
Right. And again, I don't want this podcast to be about comedy, but it is who I am. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta talk about it a little bit.
What are your things?
So that's what triggered.
In a loved one, like a person you're gonna love. What are 3 minimum, like basic requirements?
That's what triggered my question too, as I was thinking about it, because you know about the love languages, and one of my exes hated it because I was like, mine were gifts and acts of service, but it's touch is definitely a huge thing for me. I really have to want to be able to like touch my partner, and I mentioned that I was in a relationship where it was very cold, and that's when I realized like, no, it has to be there. And then we have to be able to have a conversation. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny, and that's a plus. But I was telling you that the person that I am cutting things off with, I couldn't get a word in, and I think one of my best features of being a woman is like I get this podcast and I get to do all the talking I want to, but I think in a relationship I actually try not to talk too much. I mean, I can if you want me to, but I also am in my head a lot. I don't know if that comes from being an only child. So when I do speak, I want to be able to get it out and for you to be present and listening to me and not assume that you know what I'm going to say. I want you to have something to say back to me, but not, This guy, he was talking and then answered his own question. Or he like asked me something and then didn't even pause for a beat. And as I was like about to say something, he was already talking. And that was like, no way. I can't really train people how to communicate. I mean, I can try, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want, that's why I was saying initially there has to be a chemistry where it just kind of like flows.
Do you think there's anything that you're willing to train? I personally think if I have to train you, like there's someone better for you and there's someone better for me. I'm very at peace with relationships. I'm just very often, I have a buddy who we're talking last night. He's like, it's they're married and it's not looking good.
Oh, no.
And I was like, hey man, look, like if there is someone out there who can give her what she needs, and there's someone out there who needs what you have to give, who can give you what you need. Like, it's not, I love the idea, like the love language thing, it's a little lost to me, the types and whatnot, but the idea of understanding that two people need different things and different amounts of things, and you just find your thing, find your person. And I get very at peace with the relationships when they're ending, where I'm like, it's okay, man, there's someone better for you, there's someone better for me. But that's I don't know. I don't know how I was going to wrap that up. I started with a question, but
no, I get it. And it's so true, because you were basically talking about not wanting to train people, because obviously I think we can accept that it's never going to be perfect. That's for sure. But there is a certain level of almost perfect that, and I think we know is out there because we've experienced it. And if I'm going home after hanging out with you and it's a sigh of relief, it's not a good sign, especially
the door, lock it.
Yeah. If I'm just like, and then if I'm not looking forward to the next time, then no, it's over. It's over. And I'm doing us both a big favor. And I'm sorry if you enjoyed the time, but I didn't. So that's definitely something that is worth considering.
It's like a very young thing too. It's like, oh, I really liked her. What's going on? It's like, well, maybe she didn't like you.
Right.
You both have to, you can't just hold her hostage for your entire life in a bunker, you know?
Right. And that kind of relates to the whole like giving up thing. And it's just, it's not giving up. It's just knowing that, you know, my time is so limited right now. So the person who you give that time to, because there's times when I'm on a date where I'm like, I should be at a mic right now. I'm fucking up again. I have PTSD from that. And that second, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, this guy, I was going to a show that I was booked on, not getting paid. I mentioned this on another podcast. And his response was, oh, you're not getting paid? Wouldn't you rather want to be with me? And I was like, no. And I told you not to do that. I was like, I'm living and I'm about this life, this comedy life.
It's an internship. You don't get to not show up for what you're doing either.
I loved that you said that on episode 1 too. It is an internship. I enjoy it. I know my goal has other aspects and like parts, you know, it's like other
people think it's fun. People think you're just at bars all night. That's the worst part of it. Like,
right.
Yeah. But that's dating a comedian. That is always, well, you're out all the.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I had told him too, I was like, hey, I'm going to go to this mic, which I wasn't booked for. And he was like, well, why am I not invited? And really,
because my material's vulnerable and you don't know what I'm doing. Like, yeah.
You know, and it's fine, which eventually, like, I know a couple of comics who have, like, girlfriends that aren't comedians, and they're writers. You know, they go with them and they show up. But for me, like
when I see those people, I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah. Or I had this guy that I was dating, and I love this guy. He supported me through like so many shows, and he just kept showing up or whatever. And that I liked, because at that point I was actually trying to get people to come. Like, a lot of it was like Anchor Bar and stuff. And he would like week after week, he'd come out and he'd tell me like, I remember I love it too. Cause I don't drink anymore before shows or mics or anything. But I used to, and he's like, you're way funnier when you're sober. And I was like, God bless you. Like, thanks. And that was the best advice I've ever gotten. Shout out to Daniel Ichis. He's the one who's like, if you booked an hour special, you wouldn't be drunk. So why would you practice that way? And I'm like, yep, respect. And so you got to support your boo and whatever they're doing, guys. Like,
and if supporting them is away from you, that's part of it. Like, if supporting them means encouraging them to go do things that you're not a part of, that's still part of their individual growth. You can't be upset with that, or you don't want to see them grow. Exactly.
That's
one thing. My buddy who's going through his marriage stuff, we were talking about the same thing, and I talk about this. Like, if you like who I am, understand I can't continue to be that person or get to the next level of who that is without going to mics and without going out to clubs and without showing up and shaking hands. Again, we don't need to be about comedy, but that's about supporting your partner. But
no, it's relatable because it's dating a comedian. I'm a comedian, and I want this relationship to be about this podcast to be about relationships and romance and love. And talking about it. And it has been a pattern and a struggle for me, because not so many people don't get it.
They don't get it.
They don't. Yeah. And this guy had a really profound, long Instagram story the other day about how, like, you're going to keep missing things. You're going to keep missing events. You're going to keep not showing up to things, and people are just going to have to kind of accept that. There's so many things that I haven't been able to do because they've been in Texas, and I'm sorry, I don't have the bankroll to just buy plane tickets and show up.
Nobody in Los Angeles, if you have, like, there are two levels in LA. There's figuring it out or there's figured it out. And if you haven't figured it out yet, you don't have the money to just, like, LA's expensive. I can't just fly to Texas for a graduation or, and that's that's what you give up to do this. Yeah.
Exactly. And
it's hard to find a partner who understands that, because, it's
especially like for being in my 30s too. I feel like people kind of give you the side eye, like, oh, are you ever going to come back? Or like it's almost like the give up age bracket.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it about time you give up? It's like, no, this is when I go the hardest.
Yeah.
This is when you are going to see me lose everything. If I
was dying, would I give up? Or like, if it was my physical health, would I give up close to the end, or would I fight harder? Like, what's the,
right? Yeah.
Also, if you're listening to this and you're in a similar predicament and you work in a field where it's hard, like, we're trying not to only talk about comedy. Hit me up on Instagram and let me know what your field is. I mean,
absolutely.
I want to know other people who go through this too, because I'm trying to figure it out also. So if you work somewhere and like your industry is hard to date in,
I always tell people, even right now, being by county, I tell people it's like I'm an airline pilot. Just imagine,
I want to, like, I feel like it might be healthy for my relationship if I were in Orange. I almost took a day job in Orange County just because.
You guys spend too much time together?
Not even that we spend too much time together, but like, so full disclosure, I live in my car. And I'm in a relationship. I stay at her house a lot. So if I were in Orange County a lot, I would be staying in Orange County a lot, and it would almost it'd be like half the week would be a little bit of distance. And I think
does she know that?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've been together.
So you live with her?
No, basically. I live in my car. I sleep there. I am. This is. Gosh, you tagged me, didn't you? She's It's an area of contention. She likes me there a lot. She sleeps better when I'm there. She kind of, but I'm very much a solo kind of person. So there are nights where I'm like, hey, I'm you know. And the reason I live in my
kind of car do you have?
I have a Prius.
Okay.
The reason when I first started living in my car, I was in Denver, and I went to Oklahoma, Vegas to see some family, and back to Denver. It was like $120 gas, and I slept in it the whole time. I have this lifestyle for comedy, and that's another thing where it's like she's at least understanding of that, but like it's not, she doesn't care that I live in my car. She likes.
Do you talk about that on stage?
Living in my car? In the open mic scene, I try not to because so many people there. It's actually pretty common. Okay. But I personally like I've chosen that lifestyle to be able to get up and go because I'm the kind of person that likes to get up and go. And after, a year and a half of relationship, get up and go isn't as acceptable. So I've looked at almost taking a day gig in Orange County just to keep me out there for 2-3 days a week and just because I think space is I need lots. I need lots of space.
Respect, bro.
And that's kind of the area in my relationship where we go back and forth on you need a lot of my time, I need a lot of my time. So
what does she do for work?
She works at like a bakery, just like
okay,
like what do they call it? It's a French bakery, a patisserie. Yeah, she works.
Is she a pastry chef?
No, she just works the counter and she does some like catering stuff. But hold on one second. I'm coming over and I'm getting
God
through.
Bless you.
Yeah, no allergies. She's an actress though, but
okay,
she's
an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist, but it's
cool. All right.
Yeah, I feel like actors and actresses, when they're not working, their hustle is very similar to comedy, but it's a daytime hustle. Auditions are in the daytime. You're self-taping in the daytime. Comedy's a similar hustle, but at night. And so I feel like that's kind of part of ours is that push-pull of being out at clubs. Is she is an artist, but she's a different kind of artist. So
that's another reason why I want to be here full-time, too, because I'm also an actress, and I would love to start auditioning.
Yeah.
I would love to, but I don't want to try to look for representation until I'm out here full-time.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something. Wow. I like that I know that about you, man. I have so much respect for that.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people had to do that at one point or another.
I bought the car to do it. I was like, "Oh, Prius, you can charge your phone and leave your air running for like $1 a night in gas. It's worth it." So yeah,
that's so sick.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, that actually really makes the point concrete about communication, understanding, and flexibility. And how long have you guys been together?
We've been together a year and a half.
Okay.
No, year and 3 months, I guess. Year and 2 months. Okay. We got very serious very fast. I'll just tell you, I was trying to pull it up on my phone. I'm a little derelict in my duties. The conversation's been so good. We're at like 50 minutes, just so you know.
50?
Yeah, 50. So,
oh, wow.
Probably a little over, but
oh my goodness.
So when we first started dating, I had 2 weeks after we started dating, I had a stroke. And
oh my God.
Her dad's an ER doctor and her brother is like a neurosurgeon in Florida. And I was like, no insurance. I was like, not going to I thought it was vertigo at first.
Was that genetics?
No, it was in jiu-jitsu class. It was actually in like it was based on being overly healthy and active, not underly healthy. Like I was just too deep into something and weird position, freak accident. But her like at first I thought it was vertigo because I couldn't walk and like I could stand but I couldn't walk well and I was like that was weird and her dad was like left side oh he's got to go to the hospital like ASAP like he needs to go now and she ended up taking me to the hospital so we got very serious like she met my parents 2 weeks after we started dating in the hospital so got serious very fast but yeah.
And where are your parents? Colorado?
No, my parents are in Vegas. So
Vegas, I knew that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And wow. Well, good for you good for her for having your back like that. What do your parents think about what you're doing?
So my parents have known that I've been kind of actively pursue. Like, I left a very good career in Vegas to start this.
What was it?
I worked in hospitality. I ran like conventions at the
sick.
Cosmo in Vegas and made good money and had a good thing going. And I woke up every day and hated my life and was like, I'm going to do something different. It started with jujitsu, and then kind of turned more into. I started doing comedy, and I was like, realized quickly, like, oh, I'm better than this than jujitsu. Like, if I'm going to try to do something, it should be this more heavily. Do both, but they didn't find out. I lived in my car in Denver. My mom didn't find out I lived in my car until I moved here. Okay. And she kind of knew. I feel like she knew, but she was just like trying really hard not to know. Okay. And now they kind of support. She won't tell her friends I live in my car, but she's supportive of what I'm doing. Like, okay, she understands that there's a certain level of hustle required, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you know, a car payment with insurance, $400 a month. Rent in this city, 14. So
exactly,
it's a different thing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that's in Koreatown, and like
sharing
there bugs and God knows what. And
I totaled my first Prius shortly after I got here, and I ended up living. I shared a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 other people in right next to Rock and Roll Ralph's. It was $700 a month with bed bugs. And it's like, so when people are like, why do you live in your car? Like, because there's no bed bugs in my car.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. I'm glad I got to learn about you.
Yeah. So you don't recommend Bi-County then? Because I've been thinking about it.
If you live in your car, then that would be sick.
Yeah.
You know, because like you can get away with it. And plus you don't have dogs. Mm-hmm. And like, why not? And then plus there's way nicer places to crash. You can even throw a tent in there and just go like camp a couple nights, and that would be sick. Like by the water.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend it if you can get away with it and
stage
still
time. Good? Is it worth it, would you say? That's kind of what I was thinking, was different opportunity and just different scene.
You could definitely like hook up with a bunch of the people who produce the shows out there and get some good stage time
going.
Yeah. But you could do that without
being there.
Yeah. You would but you know, if you're driving out
there. But there's a lot to be had. Is it good?
Yeah, I mean, I got a like Amazing Comedy Theater. Have you done that yet?
I haven't.
In Huntington Beach. Oh, it's amazing. Definitely.
I heard about that recently. The guy came from somewhere else, right? The guy who owns it.
Mm-hmm. He's a comic.
Somebody told me like the story of that place recently. I feel like it was very interesting. Was it you last week? Are we just repeating the same conversations? No,
maybe.
I heard about the Amazing Comedy Theater recently. I hear it's great.
Right, because you should definitely check it out, and because again, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a packed house, but they'll give you a good amount of time, and it's great,
worth
and
it.
Yeah, for
I'll
sure.
make the drive.
Definitely should. So just to recap a little bit, guys, before we get off the air here, I think the next episode, I love that he brought up being too healthy, because again, another part of besides just gossip is that I have a huge background in doing a bunch of different diets, and I think at one point I definitely had orthorexia, where you're just too obsessed with like eating a certain way, and you didn't want any of that stuff in your body. And I think it's worth talking about. And I will eventually have guests on here so I can get all up into their gossip. But this time I just wanted to recap and shout out to a bunch of the people that I had mentioned in episode 1 to clear all that up. Wow.
You've had a big like change in headspace in even just a week.
100%.
Yeah. Welcome to LA. Full time, I guess I should say. But,
I know. Yeah. And I'm like so happy about it. And it's so empowering to just be like, no, like, I don't want to be your girlfriend, or no, I'm like, I like doing this, or I want to date in LA, or I'm sorry it didn't work out, and just being your own person. And you obviously know that to another level.
It's hard to tell other people. It's easy to be your own person. It's hard to look other people in the eyes and say, this is the person I am. So
it is. Congrats. I stutter. I still stutter when I do it. And I still feel uncomfortable doing it. And that's why I just love that I have this platform now. And hopefully you guys will enjoy writing this way for me. Go ahead and plug your IG, Alex.
Oh, I'm Alex Conn is not funny. That's Conn, Charlie, Oscar, Nancy.
Nice.
CONN.
And yes, and please be sure to check out all the episodes and other great episodes and shows on the Comedy Pop-Up. It's at Comedy Pop-Up on Instagram and Twitter. And our website is comedypopupla.com. There's so much amazing content. I'm Krystle Chats, Krystle Chats, like chit chat, krystlechats.com, Krystle Chats on Instagram. And this is the Healthy Gossip Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back with more tea next week.